Okay.
Oh.
God.
Welcome, strangers, to Talkumentary, a show where we watch documentaries and get together and talk.
That was disgusting.
Be happy, I. Ben Franklin said, "The Constitution only guarantees the American people the right to pursue happiness, but you have to catch it yourself." But what is happiness, dear listeners? How do we get it? What makes us happy? That's what we're going to look in tonight. So welcome, everyone, to the 43rd episode of Talkumentary. I am your host, Jeff Kolaski. Allow me to introduce our crew for this evening. We are a trio, or a triad, or a triumvirate.
Or a tripod.
Or a tripod. Or a triangle.
Ooh.
Or a three-peat?
Nah.
I don't know. Okay.
I don't like where this is going.
Okay, yeah, me neither. To my right, my sister Lauren Kolaski. Welcome back.
Hi,
Welcome.
thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
That's why I said thanks.
Okay.
Just thanks for being you.
Thanks, Jeff, for
Thanks
Jeffing.
For making me laugh.
Fake laugh till you real laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And to my left, Matty Boom Blatty.
Hello.
You're out of the post-production booth.
Until later.
Until after the show, and then you'll be in the post-production booth.
Yeah, hello.
Post-production.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So for those of you that don't know, Matt likes to be a button pusher. Both in the post-production world, where he has become one of our two producers, where he helps with some of the editing and whatnot of the show, but he also likes to push my buttons.
The metaphorical sense of pushing buttons.
Right. When I'm down here trying to set up all the AV stuff to get us going and make us sound pretty and make us look good. Look how good we look right now on this screen.
It's only because I said something.
It's not.
That's why.
My sister told us to flip a camera upside down,
Yes,
which worked very well. I went out and bought these new lights and everything. Look at we do shadow puppets on the wall. And
happy shadow
and
puppets.
Matt's down here just pushing buttons like he doesn't want me to be happy.
That comes in time.
I was going to say, it is
Matt.
kind of.
Yeah. You have to earn it. You have to catch it.
What? I have to earn what? Happiness?
Yeah, you know that we have to earn it.
Hold on. Let me get my notes and see how I feel about what you just said.
Let me look at my sheet.
let me look at my digital sheet here. Go rate and review our podcast if you have not yet. Go to your favorite streaming service or our YouTube, which we're showing these lovely videos now, and let us know what you think of our show. We really like getting comments. We don't get enough of them. I'm a little pissed at everybody because I'm just angry and I don't want to be happy tonight, but I'm going to try. Okay. If you want to connect to our show, you just find us at Talkumentary Podcast on all the social medias, or you can shoot us an email. Matt, what's our email address?
Talkumentary.
Nope.
info.talkumentary@gmail.com.
Yes, thank you, sister.
You're
Newest
very welcome.
addition to our show, and she knows our stuff.
Well,
That's me.
I'm going to edit my answer out so you won't get to know.
You like edit in like Brad Pitt's voice
like
or
a robot.
Matthew McConaughey. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, Matt, what's our email us at info.talkumentary@gmail.com. Make sure also, Matt, you and everyone else, listen all the way to the end of our show, because it's scientifically proven that if you listen to this entire podcast from beginning to end, you will not only get a huge dopamine dump,
Ooh.
you're also almost like you just took an upper or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got something special, but also you'll have to listen to hear our word of the week, and you're going to want to know that so you can get a shout out.
Yeah.
But we don't have any shout outs.
Yeah, and if you don't listen to the end, you ain't going to know that word.
Yeah, exactly. Word.
Yeah.
This week, though, we go on a journey around the world. We talk to a wide variety of different people, from the bogs of Louisiana to the slums of Kolkata to the bustling urban jungles in Japan and everywhere in between, to find out what makes people happy. We pepper in a little bit of science and some psychology and a healthy dose of spirituality, some holistic practices, and we watched a 1 hour and 16-minute documentary from 2011 titled Happy.
You can't tell,
Happy.
but I'm smiling.
Everyone listen to us smile. Listen. So fucking gross. This documentary was written and directed by Rocco Bellick, or Rocco? Rocco?
I hope it's Rocco. That's an awesome name.
Produced by Tom Shadyac, Francis Reed, Eli Han Shimizu, and Rocco Bellick. The film was a Shady Acres Entertainment and Wadi Rum Films production, streamed on Tubi and Canopy. Happy only has 2 reviews, believe it or not, so it doesn't even register on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, but it has an audience score of 78% with over 500 ratings. Here's a few reviews that I liked. Dennis Harvey of Variety gives a fresh review that says, quote, "A pleasant if lightweight plea for folks to quit the rat race and stop and smell the roses." And an anonymous poster, which you're a bitch if you're anonymous, gives a 1-star review that says, "Incredibly boring film about happiness. You need more happiness."
What an asshole.
He says, "I've read a lot of the research the film is based on, yet the tone of the movie was so dry and so boring it was hard to watch."
This person is not happy.
No.
Yeah. Fuck you.
This is the joy of a visual medium, is that you can do this. And I'm sorry, Mom, if you're watching, which I know you probably are, but this one's not for you. This is for the anonymous poster. So he needs to be more happy.
This heart was for your mom.
Oh, yeah. There you go, Ma.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to have a link with all the show credit stuff in the show notes.
Show notes.
Let's get into it. Quick warning before we get into the episode. If you haven't watched this yet, please make sure you go and watch it before listening to this, unless you want spoilers, which there's really nothing to spoil. So come along on this journey with us. Let's go. Let's talk about why we watched Happy this week. I'm in a rare mood this evening.
I know you are.
It's because I'm pushing buttons.
You pushed my buttons. You pushed my butt. I'm going to drink this Polar Seltzer. Polar Seltzer. Enjoy Polar Seltzer. 100% natural seltzer.
Open.
Calorie free. This one's lemon. I love it. Hang on.
Delicious.
The unofficial
drink of Talkumentary.
Yeah.
And so is Michelob Ultra and coffee
Coors
from Brew House.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
It's Anderson.
Oh, it's gas station coffee.
Oh, it's gas station coffee.
That's the best.
Actually, I think it is a local brand coffee though, but I don't remember the name, so I can't plug it.
Well,
it sounds.
Well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit that out. I'm just gonna edit out everying I don't like.
Who gave him editing power? Because he's just gonna.
He told me
he's going to sound so good on every episode. He's going to sound so smart. He's going to go in reading things off the internet later.
If you start hearing things that sounds like a robot, it's AI.
I think.
Yeah. Here's my take on this.
Matt, what do you think? I think
I computed that in 14 seconds.
During my research on happiness.
Okay, let's talk about why we watched Happy this week. Plain and simple. When I was making the schedule, I Googled, what's a happy documentary? Well, of course it came up that said, there's a documentary that is called Happy. So I chose it.
Good reason.
Yeah. Okay. Because I just thought, we get a lot of stuff that's a little depressing or a little heavy or a little, thought-provoking. And this is thought-provoking, but just focusing on happiness, which we all want.
Maybe a little bit of a intuitive guidance for your mood tonight.
I will neither. I need to take a break.
I'm sorry. You will neither.
You will neither. Today's word of the week is "you will nother."
You will another.
Not
Not really.
really.
You have to wait till the end.
No,
to
it's
find
not
out.
it. If anybody comments "you will nother," I delete you from our social media.
You will get an anti shout out.
Right. You will get a middle finger from us, which you might actually enjoy that. But anyway,
Oh, we can start.
Anyone seen
that
one
if
of
you
these
want.
before?
Ew, God,
Whoa.
stay away from that thing.
Whoa.
I'm telling you.
all right. Had either of you seen Happy before this?
Nope. But when I Googled it, I found Happy Gilmore.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've seen that.
It's kind of a weird one to Google. So, did this documentary surprise you guys in any ways?
Some things did.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
Any
little
examples?
things. Well, how many fucking people were in those trains? That surprised the shit
In the
out
trains in
of me.
Japan?
Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah.
No, I'm not, because I know exactly what I've
I
been
know.
on those
I've
trains.
never been on one of those, and I would not get on one.
It's not nice.
Mm-mm.
No. There's certain times a day where, in certain parts of Japan, where there are people whose job it is to push people into the train and let the doors close. I'm not even joking. Look it up on Google. It's fucking disgusting.
I've seen videos of that
Yeah.
happening. And yeah.
Yeah, it's not
That-
cool.
I don't know how. And I mean, no wonder. They're like statistically one of the
Right.
What was the word
most
for it? I
unhappy.
didn't write it down, but like immediately after they said they came up with the word. And gosh, what is it?
Oh, I've got it.
like
but
working themselves to death.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like
have it somewhere.
immediately after I heard that, I'm like, yeah,
What?
that's me at work.
What did I do?
your phone's going off.
It was
or something.
it was my telephone vibrating.
Oh, God damn it.
It's just
My phone did not go off.
Yeah, I don't have the word. I have it in my watch notes, but not in my showy notes. But anyway, so Happy explores human happiness, as we said, through interviews with people from all walks of life in 14 different countries, weaving in the newest findings of positive psychology, newest from 2011, so probably not that new. But let's see, Matt, what stood out to you about this? There was a lot of information in this documentary, and let's just start by saying some of the things that sort of stood out to us.
Well, to me, it was, the different cultures and how happiness affected them and what made them happy, basically, like what it took for them to be happy. Like some cultures, it was getting rich and having all the things, and some were just simple things in life, like nature, like the guy from Louisiana.
Yeah,
That's what
the
he wanted.
Cajun.
Yeah, that was cool.
Is it
Yeah.
any surprise to any of us that, when people get out of that urban environment, out of the kind of American dream rat race sort of thing, for money and fame and status and things like that, is it any surprise that when you get out of that, people get happier?
No.
Me neither.
No, I wasn't surprised at all by that.
They take us to the Kolkata slums where a guy's pulling a rickshaw, and he talks about people being rude to him and whatnot. And his house is essentially tarps with a couple boards and a couple
Like pallets
bunks
and stuff.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But he's going, we're happy.
Mhm.
I love my family. My kids look forward to seeing me when I come
Yeah, he
home.
just loves his son and his
Yeah.
neighbors and his,
Right.
like,
Mm-hmm.
He says, I do not feel that I am poor, but the richest person on earth. The neighbors are good and they look after each other. We stay together and we're happy. And one thing that keeps coming up about in this documentary is that it doesn't, more often than not, the more people are looking for the material things, the less happy they get.
mhm.
And when they showed that graph, which was cool to me, as people's wealth and income went up, happiness stayed
Yeah.
on pretty level. It kind of, fluctuated a little bit, but like it wasn't going with,
Right.
and I almost expected it to go down in some ways, which was
Because
pretty crazy.
mo money brings mo problems.
It's true.
It's been said.
It has been said.
Wise man once said. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Sister, what about you? What stood out to you about this?
About the documentary as a
Yeah.
whole.
Sure. I don't give a fuck.
No fucks given.
The part that stood out to me the most was the Danish commune thing.
Yeah.
I think that should be more. I think we should. That should be more.
I think that should be more.
English today.
I speak English. I think that we should have more of that because I just think back because the woman that was talking, I didn't write down her name, but the woman that was talking about how she had just come out of a divorce and she had these kids and she just knew that if she got her own place, she would
be depressed.
She would become agoraphobic. She wouldn't want to go anywhere, do anything.
Yep.
And she was like, I count my blessings every day that I found this place and I've been here for 12 years and I hope to be here for 12 more years.
Right.
And it was just kind of like a community.
Yeah, it was a
where
commune.
Everybody where everybody, and I just think back to when I was newly divorced with a child, with a 2-year-old, how cool would that have been?
Right.
Not that I necessarily would want that for myself. So I don't know, but
that was going to be my question. Like, so the happiest place on earth, Denmark. So this lady, she basically lives in this tiny little apartment, but they have what they need. And they live with a bunch of other families, everyone from little kids that were her kids' age all the way up to the elderly. And they talked about, like you said, about how they were just a family unit and the kids saw the elderly like grandparents and they were all, helping each other with things. And it was the same thing with the Cajuns in Louisiana where, you don't call the plumber, you ask the 10 people in your family, you get together all the time and we eat and we, so, but anyway, back to Denmark, how do you guys feel about things? So Denmark has free healthcare for all. They have free education for all, which takes away some of the financial burden, which, if I talk about it, I promise you, myself included, most of the people in America, if you talk to them about the things that make them unhappy, somewhere in their top 3 is going to be finances.
Oh,
absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So,
especially if you have a family.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and even if you don't, but especially, And, so you take away some of the burden. In our household, we have some student loans, right?
Right.
We wouldn't have that if we were in Denmark. We have a mortgage, which you'd have rent there. They got to pay something.
Yeah.
But it's not probably as much as it is what I pay for my mortgage, right? So you take away a lot of the financial burden and all of a sudden you've got less on your plate. What's another burden in our household? Okay, what are we going to make for dinner every night?
Right. And time.
with your family and everything.
Right.
So you get home from work and now you got to think about what you're going to make for dinner. And then you got to do the dishes. Then you got to clean the house. Then whatever you're doing. And she's just talking about it like, well, this is the greatest thing to ever happen.
Right.
So, and I want to get more into the social side of this and like where I fall into like an introverted kind of thing. That's my biggest struggle with this whole documentary is they don't talk much about privacy.
Right. Yeah.
which is what scares me when I watch something like that in Denmark because I go, okay, but when do I have time to myself?
Right. But I mean, you got to think about it. They have their own little apartment. And I think it might actually be a little bit easier to go have some time by yourself because you don't really have to worry about your children getting into trouble or somebody not watching your kids or whatever. Because, if I'm at home with my 3-year-old or whatever, and I'm like, man, I just need some time by myself or I need to take a nap or whatever, I can't do that unless he's doing the same thing.
Right.
But if you've got an entire community of people who are kind of,
helping each
well,
other.
and the one little girl said, if I fall down in the hall or whatever,
someone's
there.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be my mom. It's somebody's there to help me.
Right. So, Matt.
Yeah.
Let's say tomorrow you are told that a lot of your financial burden will be gone and some of the stresses with all, but you're going and live in a commune like what they had, a community like what they had in Denmark. Is that something you're interested in?
Well, I've had the pleasure of living in a small village in Nebraska.
Okay.
So that's, and we're talking 150 people. And, you know, it really is like that. You know, you get the whole sense of community, and a lot of people are there for each other. And of course you got that one or two assholes that then, you know, the town drunk, but in the grand scheme of things, you know, everybody's there for each other.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would necessarily do the commune, because in there seems like a lot of restrictions as far as like what you can do socially there, and maybe that was just my observation, but like
Yeah.
it seemed like it was because it was so close knit that you couldn't go out and explore. I don't know why I got that feeling, but I just I feel like it was like people kept to their same routines. And for somebody who doesn't just like to have routines, I mean, I like to have a variety of things in life.
I was like, one thing that stood out to me in that, I was like, what if I don't want that burnt lasagna?
Yeah.
Like, what if I don't want what these 14-year-old kids are making for dinner?
Yeah. And, you know,
like, I don't feel like that. Please and thank you.
Yeah. That's kind of the I was very on the fence with how I would have felt about that, because there's a big part of me that goes, I'm probably more social than I think I am. And a lot of my social anxieties and things like that are an accumulation of years of dealing with the society that we currently live in, and the stresses of having a job and getting, you know, and not that that went away. They still had jobs and things, but are the stresses of the job a lot less when you're not worried about how much money you're making as much, when you're not worrying about what's going to happen when you get home, when you know that when you get home, yeah, it might be my once a month that I cook dinner, or my twice a month.
Well, didn't they say that the kids all did that?
Yeah. Well, not only. It sounded like they went. She said that they have maybe twice a month that she has to cook dinner.
Oh, okay.
It's for 120 people or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it's only, you know, and that's the only day that you're buying food. And I suppose, I mean, think about it. If let's say that the whole Talkumentary family lived together, right? And we and Jeff makes something, and you just aren't a fan of whatever I made, right? The burnt lasagna. I burned the lasagna. What's stopping you from going to McDonald's?
Right, that's
nothing,
true.
You know?
That's true.
And we're just going to have more leftover. Now that's another day you have to buy, so you get to decide in your budget and your whatever if you're gonna do that. But there's something there.
Right.
Which it sounds kind of nice.
I think it would be great. And coming from like someone who was once a single mom.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
huge.
be, I mean, that would have been a game changer for me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for
Agreed.
me and Caden, when I went through a divorce and I was by myself, you know, that would have been a complete game changer. My kid would have been better taken care of. I would have had enough to eat. Like it would have been
mentally, you would have had a lot more
more support.
Yeah.
And, you know, a safe space. I mean, coming from that angle, absolutely sign me up. Now, I'm not so sure, but I mean,
yeah,
I'm not in the situation where that would be really conducive.
Right. What would that benefit?
Right. I mean, it would benefit just because it would be
cheaper.
Yeah. But, you know.
Yeah. And you had more time to do other things too.
Right. And because if you don't have to think about what you're having for dinner and you don't have to make it.
It's a completely different element. Like
for sure.
Like little kids, they're like, mealtime is time consuming and planning all that.
Yep.
Especially every day.
Yeah.
The piece of that wasn't mentioned that I wish I don't know that there was any place for it in this documentary, but what happens if like how do they vet the people that come in there? Like what kind of, you know, how do I know there's not going to be a pedophile creep that moves in next door? You know, like, is there a vetting process for that?
There has to be, think.
Is there a HOA kind of thing where you go, well, you got to sit in front of the elders to say why, you know, and of course the single mom or the young family or whatever, or the older couple that wants to do this, and you're good, then, you know, of course, you know, you're welcome. But also, like, is that dude super fucking annoying? And I don't, you know, like, like, I don't know.
I can't help but think, like, you know, this documentary is about being happy, but I can't fathom that these communities or communes didn't have drama.
Oh, they have.
Sure.
Because I mean, you don't live with people and not have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Oh, there has to be some.
Yeah.
But, and I wonder how, like, I didn't do the research. I probably should have, but I wonder how, like, gosh, the words just left me, but like how many of these there are in Denmark.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is it a regular thing or is this something
It
new
sounded
or
like
different?
it sounded like based on what they were saying that it was a pretty regular thing.
Yeah.
Like it sounded like there was a lot of those. They only talked to the one lady, but
Mhm.
it sounded like it was something pretty
Seriously, what is it?
commonplace.
common. Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
fine. That
Thank
works.
you.
Okay, so another thing in the documentary, it was really interesting to me when they talked about the war between happiness and depression, and is searching for happiness the same thing as trying to get rid of depression? And, you know, does that go hand in hand? Kind of, but also, you know, they mentioned that searching for happiness is better than simply just trying to get rid of depression.
Mhm.
So you think, okay, so myself, I've been on an anti-anxiety / anti-depression medication for fucking 15 years or whatever,
Right.
12 years. And, you know, so is just the lack of depression equal to happy? Well, no, there's such thing as numb or, you know, just baseline or okay. And, you know, that doesn't mean I'm necessarily unhappy, but I'm not happy.
Mhm.
So, but on the other hand, does gaining happiness remove depression?
No.
No,
I don't
don't
think
think so
so.
either.
No, I think like you said, there's different levels of happiness. You know, good, okay, and happy. You know, but I think like when it comes to looking at how happy things are, it's different. It's
It's hard to measure too
It is.
because excuse me. And like depression, I'm not a scientist or a psychiatrist or anything like that, but I mean from my limited knowledge on it is, you know, there's a chemical imbalance there and there's medications
Very
that can
oftentimes, yeah.
right, that can help that. So I mean, if just getting rid of the depression made you happy, then I mean, look at how much big pharma could make on a happy pill, like an actual
Right.
happy pill. Like
Right.
I don't think
There's-
that's possible.
Again, I have some education in psychology, but I'm not a
Right.
psychologist.
Right.
But you know, the pain and the struggle that comes along with depression, the feelings that come along with that doesn't go away necessarily just because you're doing things that make you happy. I've done things that when I have been in a depression that make me very happy, but that doesn't mean the depression's gone.
yeah.
Right.
For that moment, it might be, you know,
Muted a little.
yes.
Well, and you got to remember too, you know, happiness and depression. You know, some of them can be genetically predisposed.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
and that, and that's a good segue into, you know, a very interesting part of this documentary to me was the pie chart that they showed.
Yes.
And do you can go into that. I talk too much in the show. So.
No, it's okay.
Thanks,
I
host.
wrote down just roughly. It was saying that so there's a pie chart that said like 50% of what makes us unhappy.
No, happy.
Or happy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, same, I
Okay.
guess.
Well, yeah, it'd be
yeah.
the same. So like whether you're happy or not, 50% of that is
Genetics.
determined by genetics.
What the actual fuck?
Seriously.
Well, if you
I was blown
50%?
away by that.
if you think about it, are your personalities similar to your parents?
I mean,
Yeah. So I mean, it's right there. The evidence is right in front of you.
oh.
The evidence is right in front of you when you think about genetics. I mean,
Yeah.
like I have mannerisms that my father has. My son has mannerisms.
Right. But
so
but the happiness portion to me was mind blowing. I get without, again, I'm not a geneticist, but I understand enough about genetics to know, yeah, I have the same thumbs as my dad. Yeah, I have the same, I might have the same, you know, predisposition for certain things, you know, and whatnot. But the happiness portion, you know, half of the reason that I'm feeling what I'm feeling is from my genetics, which to me, I go, so it doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing with my life, and half of how I feel is just based on the genetic pool that I came from.
You don't have a saying.
It feels unfair.
You can do.
It feels unfair, and I don't. Obviously everyone's dealing with the same thing, but to me that blew my mind.
Yeah,
and only 10. Not to take any of your thunder, but only 10% comes from
like your life situation.
Yeah, your circumstances.
Stuff you can control. You can actually control.
10% are things that, well,
like your job.
Yeah, your
things
circumstances
that happen in your life that are kind of beyond your control. Not something that you're choosing to do, but things that happen
to you. Your job,
to you.
where you were born, what your social class is when you're born into.
How much money you have.
Yes, yeah, those sort of things. There's only 10%. So
So 40% is actual intentional action, like going to the gym or joining a book club or, going surfing or, whatever it is that you do for fun, like that you do that elevates your spirit and lights you up.
Yep.
That is 40% of it.
And that's the 40% that this documentary is
focusing on.
Saying that people should focus on.
Right.
They're saying, you can't do anything about the 50%.
Right. The 10%, you're kind of fucked on that too.
Mm-hmm. You can get a new job. You can do this thing. But what we're seeing is that doesn't have a huge effect on your happiness.
Right.
But all the other stuff does. So, they go into some of the things that can give you that dopamine. Okay, so dopamine, right? The chemical, they say that you can't have a discussion about happiness without talking about dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that releases in our brains to create the feeling of happiness. As we get older, it starts to be harder to create that, and some of the receptors shrink and go away and die off. Which,
that's kind of.
But think about that. You go, how does that little kid happy all the fucking time?
Right.
Well, because he has more dopamine receptors.
Dopamine receptors are just firing off like crazy.
Yeah, and
why is never mind? I'm not gonna say it. Sorry. Why is that crotchety old lady the way she is?
Yeah. Well, because she doesn't have.
Because she's got no dopamine receptors.
She might be shooting dopamine, but she can't pick it back up. So yeah,
she needs to go out and play outside.
I know. She needs to go run around
hopefully in a gorilla costume.
Yeah. Okay. So they said the best releaser, which for the lazy son of a bitch like myself, I go.
You are not lazy.
Right? Well, I don't like going to the gym and stuff.
Okay, but that is not somebody.
Working out sucks.
Working
I hate
out.
It.
Yeah, that doesn't make you lazy.
Okay. Well, I don't like it. Makes me feel lazy. But they say, especially working out in novel ways, which they showed the gorilla run.
Oh my God.
Which was pretty interesting.
So funny. There's just bananas everywhere. They're interviewing gorillas. I like big bananas. I like
banana splits.
Did that one gorilla look at that other guy that was dressed up as a banana as he said, "I like big bananas"? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great.
What are some other novel ways that you do physical activity?
So I heard about this thing that I kind of want to do.
Not doing it with you.
No, you don't have to do it with me. It's a me thing. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, I'll go.
And there, see, and what it is paddleboarding, right? Mm-hmm. But they dress like witches, and they all paddleboard their asses down this like little thing, and it's
with
these
brooms or what?
Yes, it's the best.
Cool. I've got
thing
family up there
I've ever seen, and I was like, someday I will do that.
That's pretty cool.
I probably am gonna end up in the water, but it's fine.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what are some things you could do for novel physical activity?
Sports, athletics,
novelty.
Oh, what's that?
Well, you got to dress like an ogre or something.
Yeah, I mean,
put a mask on, something.
I mean,
I guess technically sports would be because I think like the
it's the fun in it.
Yeah, you have to kind of add the fun to the exercise, the physical activity. So if I'm going to run around and play tag or something, well, then there's maybe fun involved with that as opposed to just going to the gym and running on a treadmill.
My family, so there's this game called Bags, which I'm sure you've heard of, or Cornhole.
Cornhole.
Yeah.
Cornhole.
Or there's this game called Washers, which,
Oh, yeah,
so it's
I played that.
a whole lot of walking back and forth and throwing things, and those are
Kind of
fun.
like horseshoes.
That's the most Nebraska thing I ever heard.
Cornhole and Washers.
There's this one game that is kind of a big deal in my family. It's called Beth Shield. I don't know if you've heard of it.
What is it? You're gonna have to explain this.
It's kind of an in joke, but
Oh, that is funny. Andrew Hornacek, if you're listening, which I know you are.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy. Beth Shield. Beth Shield was a game that we made up when we were young. I don't know why it was called Beth Shield.
I don't either.
But you'd carry a pillow and you'd fight each other with a pillow.
They were all crumpled up on one.
Yeah.
And you just
Were you guys best friends?
Who?
Us?
It's Beth. It's like Beth friends. Like
We're the best friends.
Beth friends.
No, that's not what it was. Probably closer to being Jeff.
Yeah.
But
Like everybody beat the shit out of Jeff
beat
Shield.
Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically, if we were playing Beth Shield, if I swing and she blocks it with her shield, which is her pillow, then nothing happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I hit her arm, she can't use her arm anymore.
Ah.
Yeah. So we're on the ground just trying with our mouth.
Yeah, you'd hold the pillow with your mouth and like swing it, and if you hit their head anywhere, their head was gone, and that was an instant kill.
Man,
right?
Done.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a fun game.
Violence.
I kind of feel like we should start a video cast where we get people together to play.
I think we need a Beth
Shield.
Shield league.
The last 30 seconds are a product of the 1990s and 1980s.
Yeah.
Seriously, this was. I mean, we had a Sega Genesis, but that didn't cut it every time.
No, you can only play so much Sonic 2
or Jeopardy.
And Jeopardy. Hey,
Earthworm Jim was a really good one. Did you ever get to play it?
Answer.
Yeah. Bow. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Have either of you ever been in the zone? They talk about being in the zone, or about they also call it or flow, where you kind of are. You get this feeling when, we as people, whatever we're doing, whether it's playing a musical instrument or playing a sport or something like that, where you feel like in that moment you could do it forever and that nothing else matters.
Yeah.
What kind of things get you in the zone? For me, like, I can get in the zone when I'm drumming, right?
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing something, like even doing something like doing leather work or sewing something, or doing like a jigsaw puzzle or something like that, where you can sort of just focus on what you're doing. And you don't hate doing it. It's something somewhat satisfying, whether it's actually enjoyable, like fun.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've ever been in the zone, quote unquote, for something that I was like actively like giddy with, like fun.
Right,
It doesn't feel like something like, oh my gosh, I'm.
That happens to me when I take Jess storm chasing. Like, I'll be out there doing photography and stuff, like trying to get my shot, and I'll just be totally zoned, and she'll be asking me questions like, what's going on over here and whatnot. And I'm like, I got to get this shot,
I wish I could get in the zone when I'm setting up AV for this show so I could tune your ass out. But yeah, so storm chasing, anything else?
I mean, welding really is something that you have to stay focused on, and I mean, and that's a lot of hand technique. And you got to
Sister.
I feel like being like in the zone and the flow is kind of when you are doing something you kind of lose time.
Yep.
So any kind of art, painting, or or even reading. Sometimes I get in a zone when I'm reading, for sure.
Nothing's better, to interject, nothing's better than when you're reading and you kind of forget that you're reading.
Yeah.
Like you're not actually having to work toward those words, or you're not
And it's
thinking
almost
about,
like a movie in your mind instead of...
You're actually you're actually playing those scenes and that's the sign of a good writer too.
Sure.
But being able to do
that's kind of how I feel when I edit these episodes. You know, I'm listening to these episodes for 2, 3, 4 hours, you know, just trying to make it right. And I like,
that's gotta be tough.
I mean, no, actually, I like that kind of stuff.
No, what I'm saying is we do so much to make these wrong that you trying to make it right, it's got to be a difficult job.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
But I do I can see where you're coming from with the with the storm chasing thing, because when I get into my tarot thing, I post a lot about the cards and stuff, and I'm always trying to get the right shot or find a cool place to take a picture.
With Lauren.
Yes.
Tarot
at
with Lauren.
Tarot with Lauren.
At Tarot with Lauren at gmail.com.
Oh,
kidding.
that is not a thing.
That is not a thing.
But yeah, I mean, anything that kind of makes me lose time,
Yep. So people who experience flow, which sounds like what some ladies
it sounds
do
like
once
you
a
need a
month.
tampon.
Yeah. For people who experience flow at least once a month, use the extra large maxi pad.
You need a super plus.
Super absorbent.
Absorbent.
So we should chase that feeling as much as possible. The in the zone, not the menstrual flow.
God.
But as little as possible for
It's
that.
the worst.
Yeah. But anyway, you more dopamine, blah 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 blah. Okay,
Less
let's see.
menstruation, more dopamine.
Right.
Please.
So this is another one though, and yet another documentary that we've watched that seems to be the ongoing. So for the first like 10 episodes or something of documentary, we had a bunch of different documentaries that mentioned the importance of fatherhood, right? So that has kind of petered off, and now we've been in a weird stretch where it seems like we keep hearing about the importance of rewilding and getting out into nature and doing things and how important it is to our psyches and to our bodies and to our mind and to our, just everything, that how important it is and how much people feel better when they're doing things that are active, that are outside, wildlife, being outside, being in nature. It's all really good medicine.
Right.
And this is another example of that. They mentioned, almost every one of the happiest of people were close to nature.
I guess that makes sense, because when I'm out hunting, it's been a few years, and you're sitting there, you're being quiet,
trying to kill shit,
kill shit, shoot some guns, and feed your family. You could sit there for 5-6 hours and just not even make a noise, and all you're doing is looking around for things, and it's great.
But
it's
it
peaceful.
grounds you. It's like it makes you.
It brings you back to earth.
I said this the last episode I was on. It makes you feel heavy.
It wasn't the last one, but it was the first one you were on. It was the first episode, not the last one you were on. Last one you were on was, but it wasn't. It was the first one.
No, it was when we were talking. It was okay. It was like 3 days ago when we were talking about Gather. Was it not?
Yeah, but that wasn't the last one you were on.
Oh, well, in my time,
in real time,
the last one we recorded. It might be the last one.
I don't fucking
It was
know.
the last one we recorded.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyways, it feels heavy. Like you feel heavier. Like you feel more connected to the earth in a visceral way. Like in an actual tangible way. Like you feel like you've got roots growing out of your feet that have, you hear it all the time. Well, if you are into like any kind of guided meditation and
imagine the roots coming out of your feet and
going into the earth's core and wrapping around the biggest stone you can find or whatever.
There's weight and there's warmth and there's comfort and that all comes with being
like being outside. You don't even have to do the guided meditation because that just does it. It
especially
just,
like true outside, like Matt was saying, going hunting, or if I go camping, or if you go out, even just like a hike or something like that,
sit by a tree,
right? Yeah, like I don't necessarily get that if I just go walk outside to my mailbox,
right?
But if I go out back and I start a fire and I do a little bonfire, whatever and it's like okay, all of a sudden,
or if you're gardening and you're planting something, you've got soil in your hands,
digging
like
into the dirt.
Are like that. Just it it connects you in such a physical way to the earth that it's palpable.
Yep.
Like you can almost taste it. It's so strange.
Gardening,
to me.
gardening
you should
is
taste the dirt. And,
Ooh.
oh, that's not a thing. Who does that?
Ooh.
Gardening is like that though. I mean, it's not. It's one of those things where you can work hard for it, but it's not like the instant gratification. You get to watch it happen over time. You get to take
Patience.
Yeah, you get to have patience and you get to nurture it.
So, what about Melissa Moody? Let's talk about Melissa Moody,
Oh,
the
yeah.
debutante, the beauty queen.
That's turned my stomach.
Yeah. What a sad story, but kind of
Happy story.
happy, but my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of trials, man.
Yeah. So
You want to be mad at a camera.
Right. Seriously. In 1992, her sister.
In-law, right?
I don't think so.
I thought she said her sister-in-law.
It was her sister-in-law. Yep.
Fact check. You need to fact check that.
Oh,
100%.
What was her name again? Melissa Moody?
Melissa Moody.
Yeah.
Before I forget, karoshi was the word.
Hiroshima.
What?
You're going to have to cut this out, Matt.
I'm wondering what the fuck you're doing.
What the fuck?
This is from the last episode.
What still works? I don't even know. What still works?
I can't find it.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so her sister or sister-in-law ran her over with a truck and severely disfigured her. Her husband left her after that. She was seriously injured. She had 30 surgeries on her face alone, not to mention all the rest. And they showed some pictures that were real gruesome.
Real gruesome.
Yeah.
Well, and her poor son. Like,
I
I
know.
just felt so much for her son.
I know. And to add insult to injury, when she was going through all of this and she was, going in and out of consciousness through all this, she unlocked some previous trauma from her father, who had sexually and physically abused her, and that she didn't even remember until this. So not only are you waking up and severely disfigured, and but then all of a sudden you have the memory of your father abusing you. Like, talk about some stuff to digest. Lauren, okay, it's sister-in-law, all right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry, in an opportune moment, we shouldn't be laughing at this.
Yeah, what the hell? Sorry,
I was
Melissa
right, though,
Moody,
just so
for
you know.
her. Okay.
Just so you know, I was right. I was just being a fact checker.
we were listening to Melissa Moody.
But after all of this, somehow she feels happier than she did before it all, which was kind of crazy. She married a guy named Happy.
I know,
which
I
is
loved
fucking
that.
awesome.
I was
Yeah,
like, that
that's
is
pretty
the coolest
Yeah.
thing
I had to
ever.
double check on what she said because I'm like,
Did she just say his
Wait a
name was
minute.
yeah, that's exactly what I thought too.
When we did our episode on Take Your Pills Xanax, we had a lady where they talked about a lady that used horses and animals, and this lady did the same thing. Melissa Moody did the same thing where she got close to horses and just sort of again back out into nature and becoming one with that, and they're good for mental health. But yeah, what a powerful part of the documentary to hear her story, and then sort of how she regained an appreciation for life. And it all comes back to when bad things happen, how we're going to be afterwards.
Right, how you move forward from there.
Right. And how do you re-baseline yourself? And so they say all adversity isn't bad. Science tells us this, but as a matter of fact, adversity can be good for our happiness depending on how we bounce back from it. Well, I will say if there's something that I would like more information on and more clarity on would be that statement. So there are people very close to me in my life that have a very difficult time bouncing back from things. And that comes from, different traumas that someone has gone through or different experiences, and then just genetics, and just your predisposition to certain things. And, the knee-jerk reaction is to want there to never be any adversity because you're so afraid of what could happen next, of the next shoe dropping, of the next whatever. And so to say to a person like that, adversity can be a good thing because you can bounce back from it and feel even better. Well, that sounds like a big fuck you. You
can,
right?
But are you going to? That's the thing. And some people are just predisposed to have a problem bouncing back from that. Which,
well, in Melissa Moody's case, it took a long fucking time for her to bounce back, and she went through a lot of shit to get there.
That's true. And look at her now. Like, she probably wouldn't be doing the thing that she's doing, helping people, helping people recover from accidents like hers and all of that. Because now, what is she now?
She said she was some sort of practitioner,
kind of a therapist, or like a physical therapist type of thing.
She said the word practitioner, and I don't know of what, but it doesn't matter.
But it can change the course of your life and make things better in that aspect. And I think that's kind of what they're getting at, is that like if you learn from it, it can add to your, it kind of adds to it. I don't want to say it like gives character, because that's kind of a fuck you too.
Yeah,
like, I don't want anybody to go through something shitty just to give them a little character. Like that sounds really terrible.
Yep.
That's not what I mean. But some things that you do get out of it and some things that you learn through it can be good.
Right.
And I just don't know about.
It seemed like.
So adversity does not equal unhappiness.
No.
But adversity, obviously, we want as little of it as possible, because I don't think it's a good thing.
You're not going out going, bring it on, because I want to be a happier person. No. That doesn't make much sense. Okay, so the next big thing that I think is important, and we've touched on it just a little bit, but money. So does money buy happiness, right? So I was kind of glad that they talked about it in the way that they did in this documentary. They said, no. I mean, the easy answer is no, it doesn't buy happiness, but it can have a direct correlation to your happiness depending on your situation. So if your needs, if you talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the very first layer of that is sustenance, right? Food and water, right?
Yeah.
So if those things aren't getting met, then nothing else matters. I don't care if I have shelter. I don't care if I have a car. I don't care if I have friends. I don't care if I have my family, because if I'm not eating, then I'm not living.
I'm not long for this world.
Right. So if I am not getting those needs met, then money can buy some happiness, because my happiness is directly correlated with whether or not I'm getting enough to eat. Whether or not my stomach's full. Right.
Right.
So when money buys you out of the burden of struggle, it does change your happiness. But when your basic needs are met and you are getting to the higher pyramid of Maslow's pyramid, which would be like going out and enjoying things like entertainment and things
travel.
Like that. Right. Yeah. Things that can like scratch the boredom itch or whatever. You're not hungry, you're not thirsty, you're not wanting for shelter, you're not whatever. So they mentioned that your happiness, like we mentioned before, doesn't go up because your money goes up.
Just kind of levels off.
Yeah. But they talk about they talk about the hedonic treadmill, which I think I'm guilty of.
Oh, 1,000% I am.
Yeah. So for listeners that maybe didn't watch this basically what it says is the more that you have, the more you want. You fill into the role of whatever this new financial bracket or material bracket that you're in, and you're just going to keep wanting more. And once you get to that, okay, so you say, if I could just get that $10,000 a raise, I would be happy. Right. Well, you get that, and then all of a sudden your lifestyle changes just a little bit, or the economy changes just a little bit, or whatever happens to where you're going, okay, but now I could buy the new whatever, and I could provide this, and and then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And God damn if I'm not guilty of that.
Oh, I'm 1,000% guilty of that. I mean, even with like material possessions, and I'm not a very material possession person, but like even with just little things like, oh, I kind of want that, but you get it and then it goes on a shelf and then you never use it. But like books,
Right.
like I don't know how many times I've bought books thinking I have to have this. I put it on a shelf and I have not read it yet.
Right.
My to be read books if I stacked them up, they'd be taller than this house.
Right.
Like for real.
Right.
I've got shelves of books that I haven't read.
Yeah.
Why do I think I need this book now? I haven't even
Right.
read the ones that I have.
Right. And, you know, what we're seeing in this documentary too is that oftentimes the less people have when it comes to material wealth and material things, the happier they are.
Yep.
So that we go all the way to, where was the tribe that the Bushmen, where they literally had nothing.
Yeah.
But they had everything.
Mm-hmm.
They had
what they needed.
everything. They were the happiest people that we maybe saw in this documentary.
Yep.
And I mean, they barely had a stitch of clothes on them. They barely had, you know, but they're eating because they're hunting. They hunt it and then they eat it and then they share it with their family. And then when they're sick, they all come around each other and communally, you know, that was a little problematic because I'm like, hopefully you're actually getting, you know, the medical attention that you need.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I think it makes sense because the most natural way of being happy is the most simplest way of achieving it. And you know, when you do something simple like hunting, like they do, and just being with family and people, that's all simple stuff to make be happy.
it in theory, it is simple. Yeah. And the problem comes in is the society that humans have created.
Right.
You know, we created this society where, okay, we were born in or around Omaha, Nebraska, or in the United States, or wherever it is that, you know, our listeners are. And, you know, if you're listening to this digital medium, then you were born into some form of privilege, right? You're probably not one of the Bushmen in Africa that we were watching in this, if you're listening to this. So that's, I think, a fair, at least, assumption. So you were born into a society that says you kind of have to have certain things. If you want to, it would be unrealistic for me to want to get rid of my cars, get rid of my house, to get rid of my, you know, to go off the grid and not have to adhere to things that are financial burdens on me and my family in order to live in the society that we've created. Right. Because yeah, are there ways of doing it? Sure. But it would be a hell of a lot easier for me to achieve that if I had been born into the plains of Africa, or if I had been born into the swamps of Louisiana or whatever. That wasn't my choice. That wasn't, you know, and it's not even something I necessarily want, but it's something that, you know, that's just the reality is I was raised and born into a society that says I have to have these things. Well, in one way or another. Right.
And I think, because I had written down too, like, happiness is in simplicity. And that has a lot to, I mean, you look at, there's people who live a very minimalistic lifestyle. And I think that's kind of as close as we can get to that, is if you're going to be minimalistic. And I mean, knowing you and knowing me, that isn't really in our
yeah.
It just we aren't minimalistic people.
Right.
As far as like our, you know,
now,
I don't want to be stuff. in a white room with a clean table and a daisy on it. Like I don't, that isn't my thing.
I like to collect
trinkets and little dust.
Railroad ties.
Railroad spikes.
Yeah, spikes.
But you know, we like to have, you know, we want our spaces to look like medieval libraries. You know, but
pretty much.
But some people do like that, the simplicity of like a minimalistic type of house.
And I think there are ways. You know, did I have to buy the house that I bought? No.
Sure not.
Right? Did I have to buy the truck that I bought? Nope. Were there probably ways that I could have minimized? Yes. But I think there's a balance, and I try, and you know, if anything that this documentary did teach me was that there is a way to, first of all, being aware of, what was it? The hedonic treadmill, being aware of that and going and making a conscious effort not to be on that treadmill.
Right.
To go, if I do get a pay raise, how do I manage that to be beneficial and not fall into, well, when's my next one? Now, again, you bring society into it. You've got an economy that's constantly spiking and things like that. So that does add an additional challenge.
And kids are expensive.
And kids
Yeah,
are
that's
expensive.
true.
But,
Jeez.
as the kids grow older, the expenses, they keep going up, and then eventually they start to taper off because
Right.
they're hopefully,
On their own and doing
taking
their
some
own
of their
thing.
own thing. Yeah. So anyway, I guess it's just, there's a way to be more, and I don't think that it's, happiness does not equal not spending money either.
No, of course not.
They talk about the intrinsic and extrinsic goals and how they affect people's happiness. So extrinsic goals being, the goals are to get stuff, to get that new job, to get the money, to get the praise, to get the image, to get the status, to have the acclaim. And those are all fine. But generally, people with intrinsic goals, which fulfill a psychological need, like growth, relationships, community, desire to help other people, those people are generally, they profess, I guess, to be more happy than people with the extrinsic goals. And I think in a perfect world, you can balance those things.
Yeah.
Because stuff is nice.
Well, and there's that dopamine boost there.
Yep.
I mean, all of it has that
sure.
dopamine boost. So, I mean, that's really what you're after. So, regardless of how you're getting that,
Right. Yes.
as long as it's a healthy balance.
Right. And we see people, online, for example, that work so hard to build wealth and to build businesses and all that stuff. And, are they miserable fucks? Maybe some of them, but not all of them necessarily, and because all their, we look at Japan, the place that put business in front of all of their relationships. We talked to a guy on that documentary where it was his birthday and he's like, yeah, I went out with my work buddies because that's just what you do. It's more, he essentially in so many words says it's more important to do this with business. They're literally working themselves to death,
Right.
Literally. We talk literally.
Yeah.
We talked to the lady whose husband fell over dead because he was
Just
so overworked.
fell over.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is that an aneurysm? Is that a heart attack? What is it?
I think she said he had a heart attack. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like things were messing up at work and he called somebody and just healed over.
And it ties back into the, one of the first stories they had on this show was, you need to get sleep. No, it's the 100-year-old people. You need sleep. If you're working all the time.
Sleep and sake in the evening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I took away from it.
Yeah. Yep. And then you get into Bhutan, right? So you've got Japan, who are working people to death, and then you've got Bhutan, which is saying that it's the government's job to take care of its people more than anything else. And so they are putting more into, at least at the time of this documentary, I didn't do any follow-up on this because I'm an awful researcher, I guess, but they're putting more into the longevity and the happiness of its people more than their gross domestic product, right? Gross domestic happiness, they were saying, or whatever, gross national happiness rather than the product. And, to me, that was really cool. I hope they're doing well with that. I don't know any follow-up on that.
It sounds like a fairyland where unicorns exist.
But is it though? Because if you've got a government that focuses more on the happiness of its people and puts things into place, for example, Matt and I right now, we're working on revising a handbook for the place that we work, right? Well, if we did not care about the people that work at the place that we work, then we would write that handbook and we only cared about ourselves,
Right.
the leadership, quote
Yep,
unquote.
yep.
We would write that handbook a lot differently than we would if we cared, which we do, about the people that work there.
Right.
Right. We advocate for them because the way to make our nation, quote unquote, strong and happy and successful and, thrive is to make sure that those people are happy. Right. So
And healthy.
So why not write your laws and your regulations and your protocols or whatever it may be to keep in mind what makes a person happy and a community happy, and to make those, if they mentioned the dams or whatever that, or I can't remember exactly what they were, but basically if we were to allow this to happen, then this whole area would flood out and we'd lose this much culture. And we decided not to do it because it was important to us that those people maintained their culture and their creativity and their, all this. To me, that's not that crazy. To me, that is the responsibility of a government. But of course, Bhutan is one small piece of a whole corrupt, greedy fucking world, not to get too into the, fuck the government type of thing, but you've got greedy governments and greedy corporations that do write those policies from a place that I don't really care what happens to everyone else because me and mine
we're looking out for the
pretty.
1%. Right.
Yes. And, so yeah, unicorns and fairies, because it's so unlikely to happen in the Western quote unquote civilization, probably. But should it be? No, those unicorns should exist.
I think so.
And so that could take us down a rabbit trail that I don't need to go down. Okay. The overarching piece of this documentary, and we're getting toward the end here, but probably the thing that meant the most to me. Do you have any thoughts on what that might be? Either of you?
Oh,
I don't know. What are you going to say?
Well, if I tell you, then it won't be a guess. It'll be an educated statement.
Think all you want. I can edit it out.
Compassion and helping others.
Yes.
So they spent a long portion of this documentary talking about how much it can add to a person's happiness when you are helping others. So DJ and I have had so many conversations when we used to work together. We'd get into these stupid like spiral conversations where we're thinking way too deeply about stuff that probably doesn't need to be thought about like that. But one of the ones that we've talked about is this: the selfishness of being unselfish. So when you do something helpful to someone else, for someone else, it feels really good.
That's how I feel when I donate blood.
Right.
I don't know who it's going to go to, but I know it's going to help.
But it feels
somebody.
good, right?
Yeah.
Would you donate blood if it made you feel like shit?
No.
Not physically, but like if it made you, you're like
this is dumb.
Right. Would I go and volunteer somewhere? Would I go do no, you wouldn't. So it's a very selfish thing to be unselfish, to put yourself, even if you're doing it anonymously. And I might get some blowback on this because I feel like people misunderstand what I'm getting at. Because I don't think it's not a bad thing. It's a very, very good thing. And we were blessed with a biology or a creation or however you believe that we got here. We were blessed to be able to have a biological reaction to
helping
doing
others.
Something good.
Yeah.
And it feels good. Because if it felt like shit, we wouldn't do it.
Community.
Yeah. And that's what probably psychologists would say. That's why we are social creatures, which makes me go, damn it. I feel like I'm more of a loner than that, but I am not, I guess. But biologically, we're probably not. So do you guys feel that like when Matt, you just said it, but like that it's kind of an unmatched feeling.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, there's not much that feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that make you feel good, that
Right.
make, you know, that give you the warm fuzzies,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not quite the same as when you are helping to build a house for
Right.
someone in need, or
Even
you
gift giving.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Like curating a gift for someone that you know they're going to love it and giving
Right.
it to them. Like
Yeah.
that's almost an addictive feeling.
For sure.
Like it's,
For sure.
you know.
And I know not everyone feels the same way about certain things. You know, like, okay, for example, gift giving. It's not everyone, people stress out about it and don't like to do it and feel like they're not good at it and things like that. So maybe that's not everyone's.
But think about like if you see something and you just know that somebody would love it and you get it for them and you give
they
it to
do
them
love it
because
and-
I thought of you.
Right.
I thought of you when I saw this and I picked it up. Here you go.
Or giving blood or shoveling someone's driveway. You know, even if you don't get recognition for it,
Even if they don't know it was you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it still feels good.
Yeah.
And, you know, that to me, you know, go out and help people
Yeah.
because we're lucky that it feels good and we're lucky that it does something to bless someone else. And, you know, I don't know that I can think of a feeling that, you know, gives you that same
Elation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I mean,
It doesn't exist.
I don't think it does either.
I don't know if it does because which is wild.
I would be interested to know if like the science of that, like, you
Yeah.
know how they were showing that guy's brain,
the monk. Yep.
and the receptors were firing off in a certain spot in his brain when he was meditating and all that. I wonder what the brain looks like what's firing off at that point that's so different from everything else that fires off the good feelings, the dopamine or whatever it is.
Right.
I wonder if it's different.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know either.
It's interesting. I would like to know that. Any
Because-
scientists, please.
Right. Yeah. info.talkumentary@gmail.com.
School me, please.
Yep. And if anything, it made me want to do more kindness. You know, if you've ever stopped and helped somebody, you know, I've stopped and helped someone push their car off the road. You know, that's not for everybody.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You know,
there's
but-
just certain people that shouldn't because
Right. Exactly. It's unsafe. But,
Right.
you know, or whatever you're doing, you know, like it just, you walk away and it's lasting. It's weird how it lasts and how it can make, you know, it sounds super corny, but spread kindness.
Right.
You know, do kindness and it spreads.
It's our way of, you know, trying to make those things happen for us. Like, you know, get that feeling of helping people. You know, that's how you give yourself that sense of
Purpose, maybe.
yeah. I mean, it is, I think
Yeah,
so. For a lot
and-
of people it is, you know, when you actively seek out to help people. Like, hey, like this homeless person is here. I'm going to go buy them some water and a bag of beef jerky because that goes a long way.
I want some water and a bag of beef jerky and I'm not even
Jeff,
homeless.
this isn't about you.
Well, it is. No, I'm kidding. You know, I feel like it would be helpful though if someone was kind, like when I'm setting up the audio visual at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
You know, how far that would go to
Oh
just
my
make my
gosh,
day
yeah.
Yeah.
go so much better.
And
then
maybe
I would
if people were more like your sister and just sat with their mouth closed.
Who the
Like
fuck
that?
does that? Who the fuck does that? Send
Certainly
them
not
home.
that.
Okay, so we're talking about feelings now. So let's, you know, documentary's over. You guys have anything else on your notes that you want to get into before we get into
Are
our
we
feelings?
wrapping it up?
I'm going to talk about how we felt.
Okay. The only other thing I had written down about or towards the end was the meditation
Okay.
piece.
Yep.
So they were talking about how meditation physically changes the gross structure of the brain.
That was wild.
That's crazy to me, and
Yep.
and I'm gonna meditate more.
So
I mean, I do meditate fairly often for, I mean, I guess I don't know how often most people meditate, but I feel like I'm a little bit on the spiritual woo-woo side of things, and I tend to do that every now and then.
Yep.
But I feel like I'm going to up my game on that because
yeah.
That is crazy to me.
When it comes to meditation, there was a time in my life a few years ago where I was going through some personal struggles and, just grounding myself, getting myself in a mindset that nothing else mattered. I'm here. I'm just breathing. I'm listening to myself, and that meditation, that time that I took to just feel that way, it was really powerful. And
is that getting in the zone?
Hey, I think it might
be. Is it forcing yourself into the zone?
I think so, because you're listening to your inner thoughts and you're forcing yourself to get in there.
So I shake my head because I don't know what the fuck meditation is.
It's Jeff. I think it's exactly what you do. Like I think even though, because I don't feel, when I meditate, I do not feel like I've meditated, but it is.
Okay.
It is.
It's hard to get into the feeling of meditation because it really is just disconnecting yourself. Like putting yourself in an environment to where you can. And people like the monk, they train for years in meditating, which is why he can just turn that switch on. Most people, when they meditate, it takes serious focus. So I mean, it's a practice, and it's something you get good at.
And my wife meditates, and she speaks very highly of that sort of thing, and when she can allow herself to get in, and it's very much what is your environment like? What's your brain doing? What's your body doing? Can I get into that state? I just don't know if I've ever actually felt it because I don't know that I understand enough about it to know what the fuck am I even doing?
Right.
What am I supposed to think about? And I know that the guided things are fine, but I listen too much to how people fucking talk.
A lot
that
of times,
can't understand. I can't follow the guided ones.
How I learned how to meditate was a lot of breathing techniques. I mean, you really have to
focusing on your breath,
your breathing, your heart rate, and then it's kind of a trickle effect when you get good at controlling those things. It's almost empowering.
Yep.
And it allows you to set that mindset for yourself.
I'm gonna try.
Well, and even
I'm gonna try it.
Even if
deep, slow breaths.
Right. Well, and even just sitting down and trying to meditate, even if it's just for 3 minutes.
Yep, it is.
That's all it really takes. Like it's the intention behind it more than anything else. Sitting down and what is that app that they have?
Like Calm?
No, it's called like Happy or something. Like it's something real simple. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. But it's just little, like I don't even think they're 5 minutes long. And it kind of walks you through it a little bit. It's a guy with an Australian accent or a New Zealand accent or whatever. And he just kind of talks you through a couple little things. And that's it. And it's like, it doesn't build. It doesn't do, it's just taking a moment to focus on your breath. When thoughts come into your mind, you acknowledge it, and then you just like envision it like floating away.
Yep.
And bringing it back to your breath and breathing again. And then when you find yourself straying, go, oh shit, I strayed away from my breath, and you bring it back to the breath. And doing that, you'll notice that it's longer and longer before your mind strays.
And look at it like this too. Like if you've ever dealt with depression or anxiety, you're out of control with those feelings. So meditating is a way for you to take your mind back in control, which is where ultimately when you meditate, you feel a sense of calm and happiness.
Well, and all of that oxygen to your brain too that you don't usually get. Why does smoking have such a calming effect on people? It's because they go outside and they breathe deeply for about 5 minutes or however long it takes them to smoke a cigarette. That has a lot to do with it. It's a lot about the breath, why the calming effects of having a cigarette. Why do people smoke when they're stressed out? Nicotine has something to do with it, but also it's the breathing technique.
Yeah.
And that's why,
I feel like the closest thing, so every day after work, I nap.
Yeah.
And I know that there's woo-woo people out there that will say, meditation is not sleeping. It's two different things. And typically they say, I've heard Nikki talk about this before, not that she believes this, but that, if you're falling asleep when you're meditating, you're doing it wrong. And to me, it's like,
I don't think there's a way to do it wrong, honestly.
I would tend to, without knowing much about it, I would tend to agree with that. Like, if I'm getting relaxed to the point where I'm letting myself fall asleep and not, then to me, maybe that is a type of maybe I am meditating before I fall asleep, and that's how I'm clearing my head, and I just don't even realize it.
Right.
I don't know for sure, but yeah, thanks for.
I think there's an intention there, and the intention is the important part.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did we feel after credits roll?
Happy.
That was a cop-out answer.
Sorry, I thought about that answer before we started recording.
It took a lot of thought.
I know. I was satisfied with the result because I liked the science behind things, and I like looking at things from a different perspective. And when you're given data and you look at 5 different cultures, 6 different cultures, I mean, it really just gives you a different perspective on how people search for what is true happiness. And so I was satisfied.
Sister?
I agree. I think it was cool that they had so many people from different walks of life. And I mean, I felt like it was a very well-rounded documentary. I didn't feel like there was really anybody that they didn't talk to. There was a little bit of everything there. I guess maybe the only people, did they talk to somebody who had a whole bunch of money?
No.
No,
I
they
didn't see that. No.
So, I mean, maybe that would be the only thing that maybe could have rounded it out a little bit more. But I did feel pretty good at the end of this. I felt optimistic, and I felt like going out and helping people and meditating. I had a couple of different.
I'm not going to lie. I actually felt a little guilty when this ended. And I think that came from more like I have not been grateful enough or happy enough with what I have. And I'm generally not like somebody who feels like they need all the stuff.
Is it the treadmill?
But I'm guilty. Yeah, it is. But it's also like, yes, I get caught up on that, and I don't need it. But I just feel like I haven't been aware enough. My happiness a lot of times has relied on, things and not status, because I don't care about that, but comforts and, like thinking like I deserve to have this. Well, no, you fucking don't.
Well, as you get older, you work hard for what you think you deserve and to make you happy. But sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. My happiness isn't linked to what I achieve, and it doesn't need to be. And that's something that this kind of helped to open my eyes to, and I need to reflect on that in myself, because I shouldn't spend as much, I feel, for myself, not that anyone else is telling me I shouldn't, but I shouldn't spend as much time worrying about what else there is. I should spend more time being grateful for what I have
and enjoying what you have.
Right. And also spreading that outward. And so that's something that I just have to spend some time reflecting on. It's a pretty well made documentary for the most part. 2011 is not that long ago.
You could tell it was from 2011. But
God, if there's something I'm noticing from doing this show, is things date so quickly.
Are we?
Yeah.
My God.
I'm excited to talk about our stand-up moment because.
Well, we've been talking about our stand-up moments.
That's true.
Go ahead. What?
So when I can't remember his name, but when that guy was in that school talking to all them kids, and those kids came up to talk to their peers, telling them what made them happy, or what really affected them.
Yeah,
it was really powerful for them.
It was powerful. I don't remember, the guy's name was Michael something, and he was kind of a comedian / motivational speaker, and he came in, and I didn't hate that part. It was pretty powerful. I mean,
it was motivational. I mean, I'm sure those kids felt empowered when they left. I'm sure, some kids probably felt kind of shitty and guilty, which rightfully
you should.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe you should if you're making somebody feel like that.
And sometimes though, it does take something like that to go, goddamn.
Like, oh shit, I'm making like this little kid who obviously has some confidence.
Right, to come up
because
here
he
and say,
went up there, like the little kid, the short kid. He was like, you guys all know who I am. Like he went up there,
I'm little Joey. Yeah.
Real, kind of flamboyantly, like, hey, you all know me. And then by the end, he's crying, and it's like, oh shit, we really fucked with Joey.
Yeah.
Like that really affects kids.
Right. And sometimes it just takes somebody saying, I don't like it when you push my buttons when I'm setting up the AV at the beginning of the show.
God.
And you don't realize how much you're hurting someone until they say it.
Right.
Why don't you fucking cry or something?
Jesus, bullying on documentary.
God. So what I would like to ask is for us in the room, the rest of the documentary family, and our listeners, that this week, let's all commit to doing something kind for someone else. Go out, do something as small as it needs to be, as large as it needs to be. That's up to you. But do something that makes somebody smile. If you feel like it, get on our social media and tell us how you felt. You don't have to tell us what you did. That can be between you and who you did it for, or the community, or whatever it may be. But whether that, I know that it gets cliche and kind of dumb when you're paying for someone else's coffee in the line behind you, but like do something better than that.
Right.
Up the stakes a little bit.
Bless somebody.
Something that takes a little
Right.
more thought.
Yeah. And I'd be interested, anything come straight to your guys' minds that, that could be.
Well,
could
one
be
thing
something?
that my fiance and I have done before is we make little packages for the homeless shelter with socks and toothbrushes and just little packages that are in Ziploc bags that you take it to the homeless shelter and they use those. They hand them out to people, as they come through the shelter, and they have a little care package that they can take with them. None of that goes unnoticed. None of it is
For sure.
Everybody who receives one of those is incredibly grateful.
Yep. One thing that we as a family have talked about doing, and we even went and we collected some things for it, but we never actually did it. And I think maybe I'll try to do that this week. We went to a beach one time and we found a rock that someone had written on it, like, "You are loved." Right. And we went and we collected rocks, and we were going to do the same thing and leave them around, and just because it was nice, and it's not a big thing. It's not something that's going to change someone's life, but it might just make someone smile.
Right.
And
I found one of those when I was on a walk not too long ago, and it said something kind of funny like, that booty though, or something.
Right.
And I was like, hey, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Rock.
So and just I think it almost means more to the person who makes it. And like, I'm putting this out into the world. There's so much garbage that goes out into the world.
Man, that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Intention. Intention is like the biggest piece, I think.
For sure. Matt, any thoughts there?
I mean, it is all about intention because, it's hard to come up with an idea on the spot.
No,
of
yeah,
what
and
you
you don't
can do
have to.
for other people. But there are things like giving blood, making things for the homeless people, or setting a random rock somewhere. I mean, and those
Or, Mom.
I'm going to
makes
throw one of the rocks through someone's window
Oh
and
my
be like,
God.
have a good
Yeah,
fucking
that's
day.
Yeah.
"Have a good day, motherfucker."
Sorry about the window. No, but Mom makes gives quilts to
All the time.
the cat shelter or into hospitals for new babies that are in need or whatever.
Yep.
There's
Shoot, all you gotta
countless.
do is tell her that you were thinking about a quilt once, and she'll make you one.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Anybody need a quilt? Jeff's mama cat.
Yep.
Just
All
kidding.
right. Anything that you think, any stones left unturned that we need to turn over? Hypothetically?
No.
Okay. Finally, we've come to the time where we need to rate this documentary with an official documentary rating. Each crew member scores the documentary on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being as bad as falling over dead from being overworked, and 10 being as great as the big old dopamine dump when you help someone in need.
That sounds gross. I hate the word dump.
When someone takes a big dopamine dump on your chest.
Right on your chest.
Jesus. God.
The item that is used for scoring each week's changes depending on the content of the documentary. And this week we will be using smiles. Watch this.
Oh, wow.
I'm in both.
How
Anyway,
I don't know which way I have to look to be on the camera.
does it work?
sister, how
Yeah.
many smiles did this documentary rate with you?
I gave this.
Damn it. There it is again.
The fucking smile sound.
Ask the question again.
I gave it 7 smiles.
7 smiles. That's 7.
Smiles.
Gross. I don't know how well those come across. Like
I don't either,
but so many mouth noises. It's incredible.
I can hear it real loud in my
Matt,
headphones.
why don't you tell me how many? Oh, hold on. Before you get into that, any reason it got 7, not 10, not 0? Like what kind of where did it land? Why was it only 7 for you?
I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast.
Thanks.
I thoroughly
do too.
enjoyed this show. However, I felt like it could have been a little bit shorter. Just I kind of felt myself at the end, kind of looking at my watch, going, "How much longer of this do we have?"
Documentaries are too long most of the times.
think- Yeah, I mean, if it like an hour would have been good.
60-minute max on
Yeah.
on documentaries.
Some of them, I feel like they could go a little bit longer, but like I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like this one could have been a little bit shorter, but other than that, like the content was really good. I don't know. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever seen.
Nope. Okay.
I
Matty,
don't know. There's no other reason.
Boom Blatty.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so. 7.5 for me.
7.5, 7.5,
Yep.
7.5.
So it wasn't-
Why?
Yeah. So I enjoyed the content, but like it really gave the perspective of a lot of older people. We didn't get to hear much from the younger generation. Like what
Yeah.
makes younger generations happy?
Oh, that's true.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's done. They did that because it takes a long fucking time to figure out how to remain in
It
a
does.
happy,
Yeah,
positive state.
and when you're young, you're either happy or you're not.
And
I
if
feel
and,
like
and,
there's
and,
Well,
no-
and your dopamine receptors are all firing.
That's
yeah,
true.
and they're and it said teenagers, they start to lose that dopamine right around 16, 17 years old, and so
So we know that the brain doesn't stop maturing and developing until you're like in your early 20s,
Yeah.
early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's got to be something with that, when a brain can't, the risk versus reward, what makes you happy is the risk of doing something nice for someone else, worth the dopamine dump you get when you get the same dopamine from watching a cartoon or whatever,
Right.
like it just, there's got to be something there, the mature brain versus the immature brain.
Right.
Not-
because
not that
retail therapy is a thing for a reason.
Right.
And if you're going to, do I go buy something for myself selfishly or do I
Provide for my family.
provide, well, that or
for someone
help
else.
someone else for
Yeah.
that dopamine dump that you get from that. But it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, I gave this 6. So mine is again the low number here. I didn't dislike it, but man, it just, when I consider what I consider to be amazing documentaries, this was very
bland.
educational
mhm.
and bland, and
it has to be impactful,
yeah.
super impactful.
Yeah, and good information. It was fine, but and once again, I enjoyed our conversation about it more than I enjoyed
Same.
the documentary.
But it
So-
did seem like kind of like something you would see in a college course or even in a high school class
Yep.
about this.
Yep, exactly.
It,
I
it
felt
was it was educational. It wasn't quite cinematic.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas the one about the one that we did about the skeleton crew
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
like
for
that
Veterans Day.
was
Hell or High Seas. Yep.
yeah, Hell or High Seas. That one was like I would have seen that in a theater and
that's
been
a-
totally
that's
okay
a
with that.
blockbuster movie. Then,
Right.
You know, that's what I look for in a
Right.
document. To hit a 10 for me, you got to have excitement. You got to have drama. You got to have, you know, happiness, sadness. Got to hit the right storytelling, the right cinematics. It wasn't ugly. It wasn't. It was just. It was there.
Yeah.
So it's not a 5. It's not a bad documentary, but it's a 6. So after averaging everyone's scores, the official documentary rating for Happy is 6.83 smiles. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope that you all go out there and do your best to pursue happiness and be kind to each other. A special thanks to Matty Boom Blatty and Sister Lauren. Your sister Lauren, Sister Mary Lauren. Thank you both for joining me today. I'm very grateful for you being in my community. DJ, if you're listening, I'd like for you to cue the sleigh bells because it's time to talk about next week's episode. Yeah, we have officially entered the holiday season if you guys didn't realize that. If anyone out there listening has little kids who are excited about Santa Claus, now maybe you should turn off the episode because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. Because next week we're going to be taking a look into a documentary that follows 5 real bearded professional Santa Clauses to find out what an entire year in the life of Santa looks like for those who perpetually look like Jolly Saint Nick. That's right. We're going to be watching the 2014 film titled I Am Santa Claus. You guys heard or seen this?
No.
I have not.
Yeah.
No.
When I chose this one, so Christmas, right? It's our Christmas episode. I didn't realize this, but this has a whole bunch of professional wrestlers in it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Mick Foley's in it, Roddy Piper's in it, Tommy Dreamer's in it, Jerry Lawler's in it. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah, because Mick Foley does Santa Claus, which is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
He's like,
Man, where's he Santa Claus at?
right, I know.
Find out.
So I'm not sure what capacity they're all in it because I haven't seen this yet.
Right.
But it looked awesome, and I'm super excited about it, even more so.
What's it on?
So go out, watch the documentary I Am Santa Claus before next week's episode. It can be streamed on Tubi, and I think maybe Amazon, but I can't remember if you have to rent it from Amazon or not. But it is on Tubi, so you can watch it for free.
It's for free.
It's for free. As I said at the beginning, rate and review our podcast. Follow us on all the stuff. If you've been listening this long, it's time for our word of the week. Go to our social media and comment the word.
Why, when you point at me, why does it, my mind go?
God, please say dump.
I was going to say dump. I was going to say dopamine dump.
Dopamine dump.
There it is.
Yep.
Go to our social media and use the word dopamine dump on your chest.
Steamy.
A steamy dopamine dump on your chest. You will get a shout out on one of our future episodes. Next week, join us as we climb down the chimney and into the holiday spirit, one documentary at a time. Arose such a clatter. On behalf of Matt,
Thank you. very
Lauren,
much.
That's me.
There you are.
DJ and Matt in the booth, and the entire documentary family. I'm your host, Jeff Kwaski, and I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you keep your minds open, be kind to each other, do what you got to do to be happy. Don't forget about our challenge to do something kind.
Dear God, be a good human.
And be a good human. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so this is a happiness quiz, positive attitude.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know if I'll know the answers until we get to the end of it, so that's going to be fun.
Okay.
All right, question number 1. Negative emotions are more powerful than positive emotions. True or false?
True.
Do you agree, Lauren?
I was going to say false.
Matt said true first, so let's go with that. It is false.
What?
While some research supports the assertion that negative emotions may outweigh positive emotions at times, That is contradicted by a number of studies. Positive memories, even positive memories about negative events, tend to be stronger than negative memories over time.
I need to change my outlook. Damn.
Your Outlook mailbox?
Yeah.
Which pair of chemicals is not used by the body to feel good? Endorphins and tryptophan, serotonin and dopamine, cortisol and prolactin, oxytocin and vasopressin.
B. It's my guess.
Serotonin and dopamine?
No, that's going to be
Literally
I think
what
it's
we just
C or
talked
D.
about.
Oh. Was it
C
said
or D?
what's not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not used.
Oh.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
said-
I'm pretty sure it's C or D, but I don't
C
know.
was
which one.
cortisol and prolactin.
What's
You want to try that one?
cortisol?
yeah, cortisol is like a
Yeah.
mouth cream.
That is correct.
Yes.
Cortisol. Endorphins, the body's own opiate, are released during exercise and help blah, 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 blah. Cortisol and prolactin are stress hormones.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't want those.
Well,
Question number 3. From a 2013 study of happiness, which country ranks number 1 in life satisfaction?
Denmark.
Is it America, Denmark,
No.
Switzerland, or Canada?
Denmark.
Correct.
Yay, we learned.
Yeah, we
Yay.
learned today. Question number 4. In general, happy people do not A, express gratitude, forgiveness, and kindness. B, get regular exercise, sexual activity, and good sleep. C, have higher incomes or higher intellect than most. Or D, savor joy and practice optimism and self-actualization.
C.
Yep. Contrary to popular pursuit of wealth in the United States, happiness is less connected to income and more to expressing gratitude, savoring joy, forgiving others, and showing kindness to others.
Having sex.
Getting a good night's sleep, regular exercise, and sexual activity, as well as practicing sexual.
God, that's the worst.
activity.
Oh, I hate this.
Okay, last question. It's not the last question, but we're only doing 5.
Yay.
Okay.
People are hardwired to be either naturally happy or not. True or false?
Well, didn't we just
No, yeah, this is
Are you doing the neck thing? James' neck thing?
James
repeat the question because there was some wordage in there.
True or false? People are hardwired to be either naturally People are hardwired to be either naturally happy or not.
I guess it's true because
Yeah, because 50% of it's genetics.
Yep.
So we are kind of hardwired in that way, but I have a feeling
This
it's probably false.
This says the correct answer is false. Explanation.
fuck that.
Research shows that happiness, like most emotional states, is the result of a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors.
Yeah, but you just
A
said biological.
combination of nature and nurture rather than either one alone.
Okay, well, you didn't say only.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So,
Anyways.
bonus question. Where do the happiest people in the United States live?
Oh,
Ooh.
shoot.
Ooh.
Okay.
Is it
Okay.
the northeastern region? So, like Maine and
Yeah.
Okay.
Rhode Island. In the southern region,
Hell no.
on the west coast,
Nope.
or in middle America?
Middle America
Probably.
or the Northeast.
So my guess would either be the southern or the middle America.
I
doing
would
it.
say, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with
You think
Matt
it's
on
middle?
this. I think it's either middle or
the Northeast.
New England.
Okay, so we gotta land on one.
Okay, middle America.
Yeah, middle.
because we're middle America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, it's in the southern region.
Shut
Oh
the
my
front
God.
door.
Research indicates that 6 of the top 10 ranked states for happiness are in the southern United States.
It's because they're all liars.
Yeah.
That is thought to be the result of less overall congestion and perhaps the lower cost of living.
Yeah. What makes people happier? Yeah.
Sex or money? Sex for money.
Well, I was gonna say you could get both
that
with
would
money.
be both and.
And on that note, thanks everybody for listening to our little bonus trivia.
Thank
you
you.
guys are the best. Go do something
Bye.
kind. Be happy. Yay. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Do you think we should play like chirping birds like in the background as we're laughing? That's what we should do. Some happy sounds.
Birds piss me off.